Each December, one of my favorite traditions is to follow the Wandering Wise Men on Facebook. I'm not sure who's behind it, but it's someone with a large imagination who depicts the wise men traversing from the east to Bethlehem. They stage them overcoming obstacles, journeying through various terrain, making friends, getting into shenanigans as they journey. They follow the star all around their house. And this journey is captured in a photo a day beginning in Advent and going throughout Epiphany. And it helps one to picture the whole thing. Wise men following a star, hoping that it was just as the prophecy said, that the King of the Jews had been born, and that this star would lead them to the ruler born to shepherd the people of Israel. The wise men followed the star across mountains and valleys, deserts and plains until they stopped in Jerusalem. Where is this child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising, and we have come to honor him. And while the wandering wise men filled the story with whimsy, the situation was also quite serious. As the wise men asked around in Jerusalem for the child, King Herod heard their question, and he grew frightened. What does this mean for him, for remaining king, a title he was not born with, but a title given to him by Rome? What does this mean for all of the power and authority he held onto over others? So Herod calls the wise men together for a meeting, asking when exactly the star appeared, and then sending them on their way, co-opting their journey to worship the child into one in which they're supposed to report back where exactly they found this child. The wise men finally reach the spot where the star has stopped in Bethlehem, and they are overwhelmed with joy to find the house. This journey of uncertainty and unknown and hope has come to this moment. They've finally arrived. This is what the whole journey has been for. These wise and rich leaders within their own society now enter the house. They see the child and Mary, his mother, and they're overcome with awe and wonder. And they kneel before the child as an act of worship, recognizing exactly who this child is, the one with a power and authority to shepherd the people of Israel. And then they open their treasure chests, offering him gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. And just like that, their encounter with Jesus is over. The story moves on. As they dream that night, a warning comes to them: do not return to Herod. So when the wise men leave for their own country, they go home a different way than they came. This time there's no star overhead guiding their way down an unfamiliar path, just a dream of warning, empty hands and their encounter with Christ. It would seem that all is bleak and barren. This image doesn't quite fit in with the whimsical wandering wise men. But if you keep reading chapter 2 of the Gospel of Matthew, you see just what Herod's reaction to being tricked by the wise men is, and it is rather bleak. Herod grows infuriated enough to order all children in and around Bethlehem under the age of 2 to be killed. He was not going to be kicked off his throne by a child, and he would stop at nothing to ensure that he got to hold on to his power. But for our wise men, starting out on the journey home, going by a different way than they came without the star guiding them, well, this is when they realize that despite bringing gifts to honor the child, they have been given a gift. The light that they thought they left behind goes with them, no longer in a star overhead, but in God Emmanuel, God with them, illuminating the way. God has come to dwell in the flesh among us, and that's the gift. The wise men, in all of their wealth and wisdom, trust the encounter with Christ. They trust the gift that they have been given, and they head home without returning to Herod. They turn away from the powerful of the day, and they instead turn towards the eternal power of God found in meeting Jesus. They don't need guidance from above or outside of what they know from their encounter. Christ has come. Christ goes with them even on this road they've never been down before. Christ goes with them, illuminating this path, for Christ has come to be the light to all people. Well, we haven't journeyed for years following a star leading us to Christ. We've all journeyed through life thinking the arrival is the whole point of the journey that we're on, just as the wise men did. The arrival is what we're seeking, and we'll follow any light that seems like it will get us there. We arrive through the marathon of December to Christmas. We arrive to the bigger house in the right neighborhood. We arrive at the bonus at graduation. We get the perfect guy or gal, and we've made it, right? We followed where the world was leading us. And yet, we discover the markers of success keep moving, and just when we think we've made it, there's somewhere else to arrive to. We might not actually have been following the Star of Bethlehem. But like the wise men, we too get to learn that the gift isn't the arrival, whether to reaching Bethlehem or the right neighborhood. The gift for us to receive is the encounter with Christ in the flesh among us, who illumines the way for us to go. We don't enter the house of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph in Bethlehem, but instead we get to catch up with a dear friend. We get to visit a thin place, a sacred place, such as Montreat. We give of our time and meet Christ in the staff and students at Hurt Park and at Lincoln Terrace. We give of our money and meet Christ in the peacemakers around Roanoke. We sing a beloved hymn, and within the swell of the voices around us, we hear God's comfort and promises of assurance for us. And we share in communion together, tasting and seeing that the Lord is good. God's gift to us isn't in the arrival, the one that keeps changing and drags onward. God's gift to us is the encounter among us. And just as the encounter with Christ left the wise men with wonder and awe, our encounters do the same. Just as the encounter with Christ changed the direction of the wise men on their way home, our encounters with Christ change our direction too. So we're tasked to heed the warning in the dream. Don't return to Herod now, not now that we've encountered God amongst us, but instead take a different road. Go home by another way. We don't have to go back to chasing the things that we can never reach. We don't have to go back to the power-hungry marks of success as our guideposts. Instead, we get to trust the encounter of God among us. Trust God is among us when we go back to college from another time at Montreat. Trust the encounter with God when the Christmas decorations are packed up and another winter in this pandemic is stretched before us. We're to trust our encounter with God so that when the Herods of today call to us loudly in fear, offering empty power and promises, we go the other way. No, we don't need an external light to guide our way to worldly success that never leaves us full. Instead, we can worship the one who was born in a manger, offering our lives as gifts to the one who is the Prince of Peace, who gave us the gift of coming to dwell among us. We can trust our encounter with Christ and go another way, just as the wise men did, carrying the light of Christ with us, knowing that it is a light and a love that can never go out. For Christ is a light that shines in the darkness, that the darkness does not overcome. For God is God Emmanuel, God with us, now and always. Amen.